Welcome to the Wrestling Stable Show, where you don't join, you're chosen. Today is Monday, July 6, 2020. Saturday, we saw the Lions Break Collision Part 1 from New Japan Pro Wrestling. This is the American taping content from New Japan, while the New Japan Cup is happening over in Japan. This episode started off with Kevin Kelly interviewing Carl Fredericks. Carl was set to be in the New Japan Cup, which is going on right now in Japan, but things had to be shaken up. And now the participants for the New Japan Cup are only those who can make it to Japan. He was going to face the man who turned his back on Carl's LA Dojo trainer, Shibata, Bullet Club's Kenta. He also said they had been given the green light to step out of being a young lion and show a little more personality. He was looking forward to shocking the world against Kenta in the Cup. He would have been wrestling only 5 weeks after separating his shoulder, though. Now he has had proper time to heal and has been able to spend more time training in the LA dojo. Carl Fredericks won the 2019 Young Lion Cup, and I'm excited to see what he does next. Another bonus is we finally got some English commentary, so this was much easier for me to follow than watching New Japan Cup in Japanese. Now, I've been watching it for everybody, making sure to give you guys the results and the recaps of what's happening, but definitely didn't understand a word that was going on. So Kevin Kelly was joined on this episode on commentary by Chris Charlton and Gino Gambino. Bullet Club Zone. The first match was Clark Connors versus Alex Coughlin. This was a 1 fall in 10-minute time limit contest. This match was in an arena with only essential personnel and with no fans. Of course, New Japan is aiming to have fans July 11th and July 12th for the New Japan Cup Finals and for Dominion, but that's only going to be at 1/3 building capacity with proper social distancing guidelines being followed. So they brought up a very good point. So everyone's been in quarantine and they haven't been able to wrestle or train or anything like that. Now they could come out rusty, or as Gino pointed out, they can come out looking like a caged animal, looking to take out their built up anger. And that's what Connors looked like. A little bit smaller than Coughlin, but tons of fury, tons of fire. And he came out swinging on Coughlin. And Connors went for a spear, but Coughlin dodged it, then hit a gut-wrench suplex with 30 seconds left. And this match ended in a time limit draw. Connors, after the match, said that he would not be the last man to graduate this dojo. Obviously, the more impressive you are, the more wins you get, the quicker you get to formally graduate and go on to the next level. So Carl Fredericks did not go on excursion to another company, which is very, very rare for New Japan. Usually they have people tour the world. It could be to Japan. It could be even just to Impact or to Canada. But he just went right to the LA Dojo to train and to work on his craft. He and his new look teamed with someone else who graduated from the original LA Dojo, TJP. They faced off against Rocky Romero. Now, Rocky was also trained in the original LA Dojo as a teenager. He also made his proper debut at the Tokyo Dome. So that's a man who knows what it's like to go through the LA Dojo, a veteran, and to really make his debut on the biggest stage possible for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Romero teamed with a man who really would have been one of the odds-on favorites if it was open to everyone and everything wasn't going on in the world. And he would have made a big splash if not winning the New Japan Cup this year. And that's a 260-pound Jeff Cobb. Cobb was also an Olympian and has been not only in New Japan, but he's been in Ring of Honor. He was kind of a hired assassin, if you will, for Jericho and AEW. So he's been making his rounds throughout the entire world. And Cobb was slated to face off against Togi Makabe in the first round of the New Japan Cup. Now, this tag team match had 1 fall with a 20-minute time limit. Fredericks, like I said, got the green light to step out of being a young lion. But green was not the color here. It was red. So as a young lion, of course, you train and you help set up the ring, and you're out ringside. You try to avoid getting kicked or beat up by Lance Archer or by Minoru Suzuki. So now that he is out of the Young Lions, being a Young Lion, where you have black boots, black tights, it's not about you, it's not about your character, it's about learning and growing. Now he has red and white boots, mostly red, and he's got the red tights and plenty of tassels everywhere. He also has a dangling gold earring off his left ear. He has some like tribal type of tattoos on him, so he's got a whole new look. The most dangerous part was wrestling in a gold dangling earring. Not sure how safe that is, but really excited to see him finally graduate from being a young lion and see what he does. Now, Jeff Cobb helped train Carl. So everyone kind of has a connection to this LA dojo, which made this tag team match really interesting. And it was really cool to see him on the opposite side of this outing, kind of taking the beating to one of, I guess, his proteges, if you will. Now, in this match, TJP showed his athleticism, but Rocky introduced him to forever clotheslines. TJP, we think about, being a cruiserweight champion in WWE. Think about his times, in Impact, where he still is right now. And, I think one time he dressed up even as Suicide and Impact. So he's made his rounds as well, but still very much involved in New Japan Pro Wrestling. When New Japan came to America, he was even on commentary for some of the matches. So TJP, very big part of New Japan Pro Wrestling, especially in America. Now, Carl Fredericks got the win for his team, getting a backslide on Rocky for the 1-2-3. And this was a huge re-debut win for Carl. And after the bell, kind of tempers kept flaring up, and the brawling continued between Fredericks and Cobb. So this is not going to be the last time that we see these two on opposite sides of the ring, especially on this New Japan Young Lion Collision episode. That's going to be out every single weekend. So we'll have new episodes to look forward to for everyone who's in America, but under contract or at least working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling. In the back, Carl said he is going to lose his mind if he hears about Rocky being from the LA dojo one more time. So different people in New Japan, as soon as they get to the main roster, if you will, they really align themselves with one of the groups, right? So we have Chaos, LIJ, Suzuki-gun, there's just Bullet Club. There's all these different groups, right? And then you have certain people like Tanahashi, who are not really associated with any sort of group. So Carl really is making it sound like he's not in any hurry to associate with any sort of group. He's not a part of the pack mentality. And, he's really going with this whole lone wolf persona. So, he says, like I said, he does not like the New Japan's pack mentality. And he says that he's always been an alpha. So I'm not sure. I think his new nickname is like the Alpha Wolf or something like that, or Always Alpha. But that is kind of what he's going for now that he's re-debuted and he's able to properly introduce his character, if you will, to the world. Now, 3 brand new athletes will make their debut on this Lion Break Collision show next week. And we will, of course, continue to have all the results from Lion Break Collision each and every week on the Wrestling Stable show. It was also announced that MLW's Filthy Tom Lawlor will compete on Lions Break Collision in about 3 weeks. So Tom Lawlor is a former MLW World Heavyweight Champion. He beat Low Ki in February 2019 to reach the mountaintop. It was announced late last year that Major League Wrestling and Filthy Tom Lawlor have agreed to a new exclusive multi-year agreement. Lawlor, who was also an MMA fighter and had a record of, I believe, 10 wins and 7 losses. ESPN's Ariel Helwani broke the news that Filthy Tom Lawlor will return to the MMA, once again becoming a 2-sport athlete. So he's got MLW, he's got MMA now, and he's Team Filthy, his group. with Dominic and a couple other guys, are actively readying Lawler for his return to the cage for the Professional Fighters League. So he's got MLW and MMA, and he's also going to be the first MLW athlete to represent Major League Wrestling and New Japan Pro Wrestling. So Major League Wrestling, Professional Fighters League, and New Japan Pro Wrestling. So a lot of things on this man's plate, and he's just showing up everywhere he possibly can in any sort of combat sport he can. And speaking of Major League Wrestling, on this week's MLW Anthology, we saw a special look at Ross and Marshall Von Erich. They were originally friends with Filthy Tom Lawlor when they first debuted, and Filthy Tom Lawlor, was a champion at the time. So the MLW Anthology series, they dive into the careers of certain people. You know, they have the 1 hour time slot to fill, right? We've had the Extreme Horsemen, we've had Contra Unit, a couple of different other people. So this was focused on the Von Erichs. Of course, the son of the legendary Kevin Von Erich, known for the Claw, Von Erich family. And this was cool because Kevin, their dad, is still their manager, still helps them train in Hawaii, tough life. And this match was in his old stomping ground of Dallas, Texas. So this first match that we saw was a war chamber match. So this is one ring and it's got a cage around it, right? So cage match, sure. But the difference between this and a normal cage match is it has barbed wire along the top of the cage. So it's not easy for someone to enter or escape over the top of the cage. And so it's got the similar rules of a War Games match, except for instead of the 2 rings, it's got the 1 ring. And if you want to see, obviously, historic War Games in the 80s, and then, we had a couple of NXT War Games matches. But if you want to see MLW's version of War Games, go and check out their MLW Anthology series on the Extreme Horsemen. We saw a War Games match there. The cool, like I said, it's wrapped in barbed wire at the top, so no one can easily enter. Now, there's 2 teams, and Team Von Erich was composed of Marshall and Ross Von Erich, Low Key, and Tom Lawlor. And like I said, they were accompanied to the ring by Von Erich's father, Kevin Von Erich. They faced off against one of the most dangerous units that MLW's ever seen, Contra Unit. And that team was comprised of MLW World Champion Jacob Fatu, Joseph Samael, who serves as their manager, but is also extremely tough and can definitely go in the ring, Simon Gotch, who you might remember from WWE, and Ikuro Kwan. Now, the rules were that 2 men start, and then every few minutes, I believe it's 5 minutes, a new man from each team enters. Now, Ross Von Erich was the last one to enter for his team, and he entered to a thunderous ovation. The people were ready to get this thing going. So the thing with the War Games or War Chamber, you can't win by pin or submission until everybody is in the cage. So once all men entered, you can win by pinfall or submission. I don't think you want to climb over the barbed wire. Even if you could, I don't think you can win like that. So unfortunately, though, for Joseph Samael, a member of Contra Unit, by the time Ross entered, he was already wearing a crimson mask, bleeding all over the place. And we also saw a masked man. So I guess a masked Contra soldier. You couldn't see who he was. He tried to enter the cage, which wouldn't be very smart with the barbed wire, but he tried it anyways. And he was stopped by by Kevin Von Erich and the famous Von Erich claw. So Lawlor locked on a rear choke onto Samael, but Joseph escaped by using, I guess, a spike he had to break free. Then Kwan used red mist on Lawlor, who was then super kicked by Fatu. Fatu hit the springboard moonsault, but low-key broke up the pin. Now, the Von Erichs used a lot of their creativity, and one had Simon Gotch up on an electric chair on his shoulders, and then the other one grabbed him with the claw, and they used this combination powerbomb electric chair situation to take Simon Gotch to the mat and to pick up the 1, 2, 3. So the next match that we saw was for the MLW World Tag Team Championship. Dynasty members, MJF, as most of you now will know from AEW as well, and the most marketable, Richard Holiday, defending their titles against the Von Erichs in a Texas Tornado match. Even though it was in Chicago. But this was from Chicago, Illinois in November of 2019. Now, I'm not going to go over the results of this match because I highly recommend you go and check out this match and the rest of MLW's content for free on their YouTube channel. And special programming note, I know MLW Underground is returning next week. I'm not sure if it's in the place of this Anthology show. So we'll either get one or two things, but we'll definitely have MLW Underground, which is a very old concept and show for them. But that is going to be returning to our programming lineup next week. Thank you guys so much for checking out Wrestling Stable. Where you don't join, you're chosen. See you tomorrow.